Today, we're going to take a bunch of Corona and put it into a little mini pot still to distill it and see if distilled Corona turns into Corona whiskey. Perhaps even more exciting than that, we're going to take some of that Corona whiskey, put it back into Corona beer, making a fortified Corona that's kind of like brandy, but it's beer. Just watch, you'll see. How's it going, chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I'm Jesse, and this is another episode of Meme Spirits here on Still It. We're taking Corona, and we're going to be distilling it and seeing what we can make out of the distillate, basically. If you want to play along at home, you're going to need a few things. First and foremost, you're going to need a still, unless you're going to be doing a whole lot of Corona. I would suggest a little mini air still like this, and of course you're going to need some Corona. You will notice that this box has already been opened. That is because I've let most of these beers warm up to room temperature, but two of them, and let's face it, there's another couple from the last box, in the fridge staying icy cold. That's really important. We'll talk about that in a minute. You're also going to need a whisk for some whiskey business. Potentially, depending on how much information you want, an alchemieter and a test tube. And if you want to do the aging portion to make the whiskey, maybe let me do it first and then find out whether it's worth it. You're going to need some American white oak. So, should we get stuck into this? I think we should get stuck into this. You're also going to need something that'll work to get the caps off. This is a claw hammer supply. Holy... I guess these go crazy. Whoa, let's get this in there. Obviously they go crazy when the beer's warm. Anyway, that's a bracket off the Claw Hammer Supply all grain kit. Awesome piece of kit, actually. Boop, 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 boop. I am going to be putting 10 or 11 beers in here. Basically, I'm just going to fill it up until it looks about right. I've got another box inside if I need it. But do you reckon I can hit you with the... Jesus. No, I didn't hit you. Now, the reason we've let these beers warm up is whenever you're doing something like this, the CO2, especially in a properly carbonated beverage, is going to be a little bit of an issue. If you let it get too full and you don't deal to the carbonation, it's much more likely to puke, especially with something like this that's got a bit of protein kicking around in it to retain some head. So that's why we've let it warm up. The CO2 is much less likely to stay in solution when the beer is warmer, which is probably, I'm assuming, why these caps are taken off like a freaking rocket. And it's also why we've got this whisk. So we can give it a good whisking, just to make sure that all the CO2 is coming out of the beer. Should we do another one? Let's see. It seems to be going that way. So, whoa. Ooh, that was close. That was really close, actually. So to further aid in the prevention of this thing puking, you can, of course, use some sort of defoaming agent. The real ones are great. I don't have any on me right now. And let's face it, this is Meme Spirits. So what I have is a little grapeseed oil, which is a nice, really neutral oil that I'm going to use instead. I often use butter in the big still. This should be fine in this one. Obviously just something that's really neutral in flavor. You don't want it doing anything crazy. Now some people like to measure their anti-foam out with fancy gadgets. Personally, I prefer the spork. So I'm literally going to do a half spork. There we go. The oil just messes with the surface tension. It's like, if you get too much grease in your sink when you're doing the dishes, the bubbles will all disappear. If you really want to get into the geekery on this, Dr. Charles Bamforth, oh, I missed. Man, that's intense, is the guy to talk to about this. His number one culprit for killing head in craft beer, or just beer in general, is in fact the moustache, because you take one sip, and you've got your hairy oil all through the beer, and it just kills the head straight away. That and dirty glasses. And then obviously all the brewing technique. Okay, one more time. One more time. I'm going to be really disappointed if I actually hit the camera and break the lens. No. It just it hooks to the left. Anyone else have that problem? Hooking to the left? Enough lame-ass jokes. Let's get the last couple of beers in here and get it started up, shall we? Of course, yes, you could use the proper anti-foam agents that, yes, will work slightly better. But, I mean, let's face it, guys, this is full-on meme spirits territory. So, I'll use the quote-unquote free option, I think. And I am going to stop at 10 beers, because this isn't actually as big as I thought it was going to be. Let me dispose of these bottles while it warms up, and we can come back to the interesting part. It's about half an hour later, and we have first drips coming off the still, and one of the things that I was very interested about with distilling Corona is whether or not that characteristic skunked flavour was going to carry over. Yes, it does, that's for sure, in the heads anyway. So I'm going to collect a little bit here, and call it 4 shots. Honestly, I mean, on a run this size, I'm done already. So let me find another jar and switch this out. For those of you, there we go. We're going to call that 4 shots. But anyway, for those of you that aren't up with the wanky beer scene, skunked is, I mean, how do I describe it? It smells a little bit like skunk. Next time you go to take a drink of Corona, is probably the industry standard for it. Have a good smell of it and think of skunk. Obviously not nearly as stinky, not nearly as pungent, but heading very much in that direction. And it comes from hops being in sunlight for too much. This stuff is hopped and it is in a clear bottle. So legend has it, and I have not fact checked this to tell you whether it's true or not, so I'm just going to perpetuate the lies, probably. But I've been told that Corona actually tried putting their product into a green bottle, I think it was, and people didn't like it because it tasted different, which is fair enough. So there you go. A lesson to be had where the wanky people that say that, you know, this is horrible because it is a fault, shouldn't be in there. Some people just like it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, all of that to say that, yeah, that slightly skunked flavour is coming through, which is interesting. So because the beer that went in here was only 4.5%, the yield that we're getting out is pretty small. So with any pot still like this, the ABV coming off the spout is proportional or affected by the ABV in the pot. It's just the way it is. It's how this works. So we could just be happy with what we get here. We could distill it again. I haven't really decided what to do yet. If you haven't noticed, guys, this is kind of, well, I'm operating by the seat of my pants on this one. The problem is that the volume I'm going to get out here is going to be very, very small in terms of something that I can put back in there. What I might do is distill this, empty the pot out, obviously, and save everything that's come off, put it back into the pot still, along with maybe 1 extra Corona, like just straight beer, so we don't have to worry about the volumes being teeny-weeny, and then distill it for a second time. That'll make the ABV a whole lot higher. So I've collected that much so far, and interestingly enough, we have left the skunky sort of flavour that reminds me specifically of Corona behind, and we have instead discovered just straight popcorn. And I think right now I'm probably down to about, I don't know, I'm guessing about 30% coming off the still, and because we're getting so little of this, I'm going to milk this all the way down to probably 10% ABV. And there's always a time in the run, for me anyway, where, you know, it doesn't matter how things are going, things will just be going along swimmingly, and you'll be loving it all, and then you'll get to a certain point, and suddenly you just feel, I don't know, like I wish this would hurry up. Remember those cold beers we talked about? That is literally, see, that one didn't go bang. Literally what these are for. Cheers, guys. Man, Corona gets a lot of stick in the beer world for fair enough reasons, but I gotta say, man, I'm an equal opportunity beer drinker, and a ice cold Corona. Like, this is literally ice crystals on the outside of this beer right now. An ice cold Corona, when it's hot outside, it's hot here, you know, and you're in the middle of getting something done, it's the right tool for the job. All right, that is saying 10%, and you know, obviously that's an average over the duration of that amount of product being taken off the still. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that we are well below 10% now coming off the spout. Time to get this all taken apart, but I guess let's wait for those drips to stop dripping first. All right, let me ditch this. Hot, hot, hot. I shall return. In goes our warm beer. Bloop, 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 bloop. And our low wines, I guess we're calling it. That's what they are, if we call the first one a stripping run. Don't forget the rest of this. And this. Damn it. I didn't get a volume or an ABV on the low ones. Sorry, guys. Sorry, it's not happening now. And now we wait for it to warm up again. See you soon. All right, team, we're up and running again, and I have collected a small amount of foreshots, or whatever you want to call them. I'll ditch that. And I'm now starting to collect the heads and trying to decide where to cut over to hearts. I think we're getting pretty damn close, but I need a... Woo! I think it's this box. Man, I need a palate cleanse. Nope, not yet. Soon, but not yet. Actually, let me... Yeah, soon. We're not going to collect much out of this. We're really not. But at least now it's up to a ABV where it's starting to really taste like a spirit. Based on what's coming off the spout, it's starting to taste a little bit funky and just kind of... there's not a lot of the good stuff left. There's not a lot of good flavors coming off anymore. So let's figure out what we have here, shall we? Don't spill it. Oh, man. So we have 45% ABV, and we have 300 mils. And one bug. God damn it, man, they're ruthless. So as you can see, guys, doing this kind of thing is not exactly economical. I'm not going to suggest you should do this kind of thing, you know, just because it tastes good. I'm doing it because it's interesting to me. That's the reason I'm doing it. All right, so actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to do a forced age overnight. No, it's not going to give the same flavors as aging it for a year or 6 years is going to give you. There's just no way. What it is going to be is a decent analog to kind of peek behind the curtains a little bit and get an idea of what would happen if I did let it go for a year or something like that. But what I also want to do is save a little bit exactly as it is. And I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to save, but let's do, I guess let's do 2 bottles and then we'll age the rest, shall we? So that is going into the ultrasonic cleaner, and I'm going to put, let's say, an hour and a half of actual ultrasonic onto it, plus about 12 hours of 60 degrees Celsius. And then tomorrow, we'll come back and taste all of this. It has been a little over 24 hours. The Corona whiskey has a bit of color and a bit of bit of oak action going on it. We have some of the white Corona whiskey, and this, well, it was a full Corona that I took a rather large sip out of and then topped it back up with the white whiskey, making it a fortified Corona. I mean, I can't really get away with calling it a Corona brandy, but that'd be cool. Anyway, this is sitting at about 10% ABV. Unfortunately, I just took the thumbnails for the video and I got a little bit carried away and, well, it's half gone. But there's still enough to taste and let you know what it tastes like now. So let's start at this end and spoiler alert, this goes from worst to best, to put it mildly. So on the nose, we have the Corona skunked flavor, a corn flavor that's coming through quite strongly. When it was coming off the still, it tasted like popcorn kernels, not even, you know, like movie popcorn butter or anything like that, just popcorn kernels. It smelled like that, and it's changed back to be more like bourbon corn flakes, and popcorn. It smells significantly like Corona. It has that slightly skunked beer thing going on, or light struck beer, depending on what you want to call it. But this weird corn action and a slight little bit of butteriness that might be something that's come from the wood, maybe. But it has an odd, sad wood aroma to it. And honestly, guys, when I was putting this down to age, I knew that doing it at 45% was a little bit low. I think maybe that's got a bit of something to do with it. I think also maybe just the flavors that are coming out of this and mixing with the wood aren't so great. Hold on. Honestly, it's much of the same on the palate as well. I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than it's not worth the effort, that's for sure. If someone gave it to me to drink and that's what I had to drink for the night, I mean, sure, I guess, but this, on the other hand, is a lot more interesting. So this, the white one, I think it lets itself be Corona whiskey more without the wood getting in the way. And to be fair, guys, if I left this for 6 months or a year, I'm sure something different would happen to it. This is just, you know, it is what it is when you try and do things quickly like this. This is a lot more interesting to me. And to be honest, it's pretty much that without the wood, the weird wood stuff getting in the way. So it is like a really, really, really strong, not cold, not yellow, and not bubbly Corona. And vodka mixed together, something like that. I don't know. Once again, I'd drink it as a novelty. It's not offensive, particularly, in any way. There's just anything particularly wonderful about it. This, on the other hand, this is something that I can totally get behind. It is Corona, but more coronary in so many ways. You can detect the alcohol for sure. I'm thinking it's sitting at about 10%. For those of you that have done depth charges or car bombs or whatever you want to call them, like a beer with a shot of something in it, it is reminiscent of that, of course. But it's interesting because it is doubling down on the Corona flavors, which is pretty freaking awesome. And I was a little bit concerned about what the alcohol was going to do to the body. And I was thinking like, I guess almost like a beer guy in terms of now it's like a double Corona or an Imperial Corona or something like that. And it's going to be harder to drink, but it's actually the opposite, which makes sense, right? The alcohol has kind of thinned it all out. It's dropped it down even to feel lighter in the mouth than it was before. And all of the flavors that taste like Corona in this are now being super amplified in this. I gotta say, it is probably a good thing that it is not going to be practical to make these things by the box, because if you could, man, the lawns would not be getting mowed. Let me say that. I know this has been kind of a silly video, but in saying that, it is also always interesting to put something random, something different, something you haven't experienced before into a still and see what flavors do and do not carry over. In this case, most of the flavors that I can pick up in here have carried over in one shape or form. And it's been a pretty linear experience, which is not always the case. Anyway, I need to say a huge, huge thank you to the Patreons. Thank you so much, Patreons, for letting me goof off and try weird-ass things like this. I thoroughly, thoroughly appreciate it. If you're enjoying these videos and you want to get involved, you can go to chasethecraft.com/support to find out all the different ways that you can help out. Some of them are totally free for you, just being a good sort, you know, and sharing the channel around, all the way through to buying some merch off the channel, or if it's right for you, signing up for Patreon. So, if you enjoyed this video, guys, I would thoroughly appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. That would help me out a whole lot. If you're watching these videos and you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button down below. Man, that's a hard sentence to say after drinking a bunch of this. Don't forget to drop a comment in the comment section down below if you've got something interesting to say. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Keep on chasing the craft. See ya.